Howdy, Banjo Ben, ba-ba-da-da, here at banjobenclark.com. This is your home for learning how to pick on stuff, including the mandolin, the guitar, the banjo. We teach it all right here at banjobenclark.com. Thank you for joining me today. This week, we're looking at some basic mandolin stuff. This is good for if you're just now starting to learn how to play the mandolin. You've always been curious about it. Or if you've been playing for a while, I'm turning a very common song into a great right hand exercise. And today we're going to work on what's called kind of the shuffle. That's what fiddle players would call it. You know, we're really working on getting our right hand that alternating pick pattern. A lot of people will just try to pick with only downstrokes. What we're going to do today is really work on getting that upstroke, and also we're going to work on doing double stops, which means two strings at once, which is really cool. We're going to take an old standard that we should all know, Old Joe Clark, and we're going to work on a single string, very basic melody version, and then we're going to take that same melody except incorporate two strings into a double stop version. So I'm excited about this. If you're watching this on YouTube, later on I'll ask you to go over to my website to finish watching this 20-30 minute video lesson. You'll get this one and every other video lesson that I put up every week if you're a Gold Pick member over there on that site. So thank you so much for those of you who have already done that. Helps keep me going. Listen to these versions of Old Joe Clark. So there we have the single note, simple melody to Old Joe Clark, and then incorporating the double stops. Another thing that we're going to work on in this lesson that'll be great for you that are learning how to play is the use of our pinky. Many times beginners want to shy away from the use of their left hand pinky when they're fretting a note, but we need to go ahead and introduce that so that later on when you need it, it's not weak and decrepit and immobilized. Those are three pretty strong adjectives there for your pinky. I'm sorry, buddy, but you're going to have to shape it up. Just tell them that. Shape it up. So in the B part, we're going to use our pinky on the 7th fret of the A string to get that E note, which is the same note as the open E string. So if you're watching here on the website, you know the drill. Jump over to the Basic Mandolin tab section. Grab the two PDFs here for the double stop version and the single note version. And then we're going to do what we always do here. Dive in measure by measure and teach you all the good stuff about how to play it. First thing I'd like to point out is that this song is in the key of A, so we're going to use a lot of open strings obviously because we have our A string right here, which is the root note in the key of A, and then we have this E string here that's the 5th tone in the A scale. So those are it's also the 5th or the 3rd note in an A major triad chord. So those two notes go really great together when you're playing in the key of A. Actually, both of these arrangements of Old Joe Clark are only going to take place on these top 3 strings, okay? Whenever we go down to this G string, we'll just go down there for a little bit in the A part, or in the B part. Otherwise, we're mainly going to stay on the top 2 strings. I want to also explain just a little bit about what fiddle tunes, the form of fiddle tunes are. This is a fiddle tune, and typically fiddle tunes will have 2 parts, an A part and a B part. The A part's usually 8 measures, and then it will repeat the A part generally. Okay, so then you end up with a total of 16 measures before you go into the B part, which is also 8 measures. A lot of times it'll have a different chord progression, and then you'll repeat that. And so you'll have a total of 32 measures before it hands off to the next instrument. So that's what I'm going to teach you today is a 32 measure break, actually 2 of them, one using the single notes like we heard, and one using the double stops. Okay, so let's look there at the very first measure on your PDF of the single note version, and we're going to play 2 measures of what's called a kickoff, or some might call them potatoes, or just a shuffle intro. And all this is doing is letting the folks around us know who's playing and when to start. So you might say, hey, I'm going to do a 2 measure kickoff to Old Joe Clark. And if you played these first 2 measures, people would know what you're talking about. We're going to start on the 2nd string, the A string, and we're going to introduce this right hand pattern that's going to be very standard throughout both of these versions, and that is that shuffle pattern that I mentioned. What we're going to do is play a downstroke that's a quarter note. It gets 1 beat, as you see there. And then on the 2nd beat, we're going to play 2 eighth notes. An eighth note's half as long as a quarter note, so it takes those 2 eighth notes that are tied together to make 1 beat, and we're going to do a down up. Okay, that's the pattern. Down, down, up, down, down, up, down. Very important that we keep that going. I don't want to see a down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Don't do that. I go through a lot of trouble putting those little arrows there in the tab because we want to keep our pick strokes going down on the down beat. So down, down, up, down, down, up. And that's what that first measure sounds like. So let's play that kickoff together. Everybody can play that. It's just an open A string, and we'll count it off and play those 2 measures with me. 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Good job. Now measure 3, we're going to jump into the melody of the song, which is going to start up here on the 1st string, the E string. And we're going to keep that right hand pattern going, and then we're going to just introduce some left hand fingerings in here, okay? So the 3rd measure, slowed down, sounds like this. 2, ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Okay? So we're going to play an open E string with a quarter note. Then with our shuffle, with our 2 ands down here, we're going to play our index finger on the 2nd fret of the E string. Good job. Then our 3rd downbeat is a downstroke on the 3rd fret. And then we're going to come back down to the 2nd fret with a down up. Now, a good tip is to leave your index finger down as you play that 3rd fret. Okay? That way we don't have to do as much moving. I don't want to see you doing this. If you know that you're coming back to your index finger, just leave it down. Good job. Measure 4. Sounds like this. Ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. So now we're going to switch strings. But remember to keep your pick strokes correct. Okay? So we're going to do a downstroke on the open E string. Then we're going to come down with our index finger, or with our ring finger. I want you to grab this 5th fret on the A string, play 2 notes on it, and then a quarter note on the 4th fret with our middle finger here, and then 2 eighth notes to end that. Good job. Now, there's a lot of repeated measures in this song. So measure 5 is a lot like measure 3. And then let's look at measure 6. It's very, very simple, but we're ending first kind of a phrase, right? And it's just an open E string played with that right hand rhythm. Ready, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Good job. Now measures 7, 8, and let's see. I guess we'll go to measure 9. That's where we run into something a little bit different. And we're getting ready to wrap up the first time through the A part. Then we're going to repeat all this, okay? So measure 9 sounds like this. We're going to start on our 4th fret with our ring finger on the 2nd string. That's our A string. We're going to play 1, 2, and then our 2nd fret with our index finger, 3, 4, and then measure 10 is just like one of those kickoff measures. We're finishing it out here. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Then in measure 11, we're going to pick up and play those same last 8 measures over again. If you'll notice and compare measure 11 to measure 3, it's the same thing. All the way up till measure 18, we see that open A string measure. And then we're going to look at the B part. Remember how I explained to you what a B part was. And so we're going to look at the B part melody because it's a little different. And this is where we're going to introduce our little finger into the mix and start working also on our D string down here. So we're going to expand our left hand a little bit. It's going to be a lot of fun.